So I've touched on this hidden connection before, but I haven't devoted a video to it. And I wanted to talk about it because it's one that I find fascinating, and I think if it was developed a little bit further, if LEGO had intended for this connection, it actually could have been something really interesting. I discovered this connection nearly right after I got my hands on this piece, right after it came out. So it's a fairly modern piece, and it is this one right here, the 28 tooth. I'm just going to call it an idling gear, but it is a cap for a differential that LEGO made recently. It's a neat piece overall, and it's a neat little system that they've developed. Obviously, you can use other gears with that system now as well, including some reinforced beveled gears, but this was the first. And this piece is interesting because at the time, the 28 tooth gear was also fairly recent. I don't have any in my collection yet, not because I don't want them, I just don't have a need for them currently, but I have needed them once, and so I found this connection in order to make it work. Surprisingly, it involves another gear, the 20 tooth gear, one that has been around for decades at this point, because if you see this gear and you put it on an axle, it's going to spin freely. No big deal there. However, when paired on an axle with a 20 tooth gear and pushed together, you'll hear it click. I don't know if the microphone's going to pick that up, but that click has now engaged these two gears together, and suddenly when I spin the axle up, that gear moves with it. But it gets a little bit more interesting than that, because it's not a perfect connection. Rather, it has clutch. So I can break it loose, or I can just pull the axle out. That's fine, but I'm glad that I grabbed another 20-tooth gear, just in case that happened. It is a fairly sturdy connection overall, but it's not perfect by any means. And when spinning up the axle, you can see I can break the clutch free so that it actually allows the axle to spin independently from it while still preserving a certain level of friction. It's pretty cool overall, and where I think this could be developed further is that, unfortunately, the one downside with this is that it does not currently fall within LEGO's modular system, if you will. It's not one module thick, it's also not two modules thick, and it's not 1.5. It's somewhere in between. Maybe 1 2/3, I don't know. But the point is that if I had two of these red gears and I sandwiched this 20-tooth gear in between them, there'd be a little gap. So unfortunately, it means I can't put it within a too wide space. It's going to be a little bit thicker. But that's unfortunate because if it had been developed to do so with a perfect half module, indentation inside of this piece, then it would mean that I could sandwich two gears together on the exact same axle and have both of them turn at the same rate, but both of them engage clutch. That's technically something that's possible with the classic style of clutch gear. It's a little bit more difficult there, and obviously that has some limitations, being that that is a straight tooth gear, whereas this is beveled, and could do some interesting things there. But generally speaking, it's fascinating to me that this works. And I just wish it was just a little bit more, a little better. So my proposal is there any instance that you can find where this specific use, having clutch with the 28-tooth gear, makes sense? Because clearly, as I've mentioned, we do have the 28-tooth axled gear, a standard beveled gear. Nothing really fancy about it. It's a generally useful piece. But this one's interesting to me. So my challenge to you is, if you own this piece specifically, experiment with it. If you own any 20-tooth gears, pair the two together. I've tried it with beveled half gears as well as even beveled idling gears. Neither of those connect with it properly. Maybe there's some way to make that work, but generally speaking, haven't had much luck on my own there, but maybe you will. I don't know. So with all that being said, though, make sure you are subscribed. It really helps the channel get closer to that 4,000 milestone. And as always, make sure to, check out the Discord, Instagram, and Patreon, and you can share your finds, your discoveries, and your hidden connections over there. Or just let me know down in the comments below. The engagement is appreciated. Take care.